If you're not interested in that sort of thing, now would probably be a good time to not watch this video. So, anyway, moving on. So, what you're looking at here are pictures of California foothills. These are regions that I've hiked in. This picture that you're looking at now is Black Diamond Mines in California, Northern California, and it's in the Antioch region of the East Bay, if anybody's familiar with that. And this is taken in spring. This is when the grasses were still green, and here's a really good shot of the valley that I was hiking in, and really beautiful here in the winter and to late spring. And we had a lot of rain this year, but usually in these areas you tend to find a lot of the arid species, arid areas, or to moderate niche environment ants, such as Pogonomyrmex, Messer, Doryamyrmex, Myrmecocystis, and you find Formica mochi like all over the place in these regions. And then, see, what I'm here to discuss is things that maybe you may not notice, or and I'm trying to encourage people who go out and look for ants to look at things and look at details and look up in the trees. Maybe break some old branches off of trees and take a look, because there are environmental niches within broader niches. So I'm saying to you, okay, well, here are the California foothills, but what about in this creek on the dark side of this mountain where it's moister and there's ferns growing within the forest, stuff like that. I mean, you got to keep your eye out. You got to look for small details. You keep track of where you find your ants, and it helps you out for when you want to look for that particular species. So, I mean, like for instance, this oak tree here. Oak trees provide a lot of food and a lot of cover and a lot of. I mean, the entire oak tree is an ecosystem, and I've found Chromatogaster, I've found Leometopum, which is a velvety tree ant. I've found, and there's supposedly Pseudomyrmex, which only I will get back to them later. That's a particularly interesting ant to me, and I still haven't found it, but they're out there. I've also found, let's see, Prunellopus and Paris often forage in trees for sap, and they harvest aphids just like any other ant up in the tree canopy. And yeah, I mean, these are key features for which you want to look for if you want to find ant species. Now, this particular picture is different. This is a kind of a niche that I want to get into. It's interesting to show. It's sandy and higher elevation than the normal foothills. This is up at the very top of Black Diamond Mines, where it gets into the white pines. There's white pines. It gets a little more deserty at the top, and there's a lot of sand. Now you tend to find species that you don't see in the valley, like Myrmecocystis, for instance, which is a honeypot ant, which is a very interesting species. Anybody who knows what honeypot ants are um, knows that they're really interesting, as I will show you here in a second. With that said, I was just gonna kind of touch on the whole sandy area that I was talking to you about, which is, here's a screenshot of me at that kind of rocky sandy area, which is kind of within the same niche as the foothills, except this was up the trail, just like another 10 minutes up the trail. So, and I tend to find other species that you don't normally see just 10 minutes back down the trail, like this species here, which is Myrmecocystis, and this species is Testaceus, and it's a nocturnal honeypot ant, which I found by accident. I was digging, by a manzanita tree, and I uncovered a nest by accident. They were yellow. The workers are yellow, which is indicative of a nocturnal foraging species normally. And yeah, I found this queen the next spring, when I found out that they have flights on a particular day in spring if it's warm enough, between the 14th and the 15th of March. And here's a really good shot of Myrmecocystis, and one of the features that will let you know that it's Myrmecystis. The maxillary palps are very long and feathery on this species of ant, on this genus, and you can see them right under her head there, and that's a good way to tell if they're a honeypot ant. Like if you have trouble discerning, I know some people had trouble discerning this from Penelopus and Paris, so there you go. Here's another shot of one of my colonies that I raised, and as you can see, yellow workers. And they love hanging from the ceilings of setups. So if you have ever catch a honeypot ant, try to design it so they can hang from the ceilings of the setup somehow. And yeah, so within this niche, I found two species that I've never seen before. I found this species here, and I also found Myrmecystis mimicus, which is in this screenshot here. This is a diurnal species. Okay, this is the species that's out at like 12 o'clock in the afternoon in 100-degree weather, and they don't care. They're just, zooming around. They're really fast, and they're foraging up anything they can find. And in this case, they found a Formica mochi corpse, which they're bringing back to the nest there. But I haven't located this queen for this species yet. I'm hoping I can find it one of these springs. So we'll get back to you on that one. But another species that you find in this niche is Camponotus cementastasius, which is a another nocturnal kind of soil nesting species, and it's part of the carpenter family. If you want to get kind of the common name is the carpenter ant, but this species loves to dig in the dirt. So I happened along this mating flight that was going on, and I could actually hear the fluttering of their wings. That's what drew me to the attention to the ground, like right next to my feet, and there they were, just flooding out of this hole. Pretty nondescript hole, just a hole in the ground, and they're just flooding out of it. And the queens were so heavy that they were actually, these blades of grass here couldn't hold the weight of these queens. They were just kind of toppling over. But another interesting species, very interesting. I actually have a colony of this that's doing quite well. There's about, I'd say about close to 40 workers. And I've had that for about a year, maybe just under a year. And yeah, there's a really pretty species, kind of a yellowish, orangish and black combination, kind of bicolor. And I think I have a few more screenshots of these queens mating. And these are very large ants. This is a species of ant that are of high interest to a lot of people because of their size. And they're very polymorphic, which means their worker sizes vary. Very much so. From size to size, variation is polymorphic. That's what that means, in case you were wondering. But here's a shot of a couple more queens as they're exiting the hole, and I got really lucky with taking some pictures of that, like I said. So, and another species you tend to find in this area on the foothills is Pogonomyrmex. I think I mentioned them earlier. And I think I have some pictures of them in here. Yeah, there's a picture up here in view. It's of a mating flight that I found in spring. Again, this is a spring mating flight, and this is around the time when they had their first flight. Now, Pogonomyrmex have two mating flights. They have one in spring, in March, and see, these are dates that I mark down when I locate. When you locate a mating flight, when you find a mating flight, make note of the day and the time of day and when you find it. You'll find that when you come back the following year in the same day at the same time, you'll actually find that they're mating again. So make note of that stuff. It's very important to make note of where you found this mating flight going on, what kind of environment it is. And in this case, this is another shot of Pogonomyrmex as a mating flight in the spring around March 14th, and it was about I'd say it was about 10 o'clock in the morning. Okay, and it was really warm. It was like the first really warm day in the 70s that was during that month. And you go out, and I located these queens, and the same year they did it again. So that's how I tend to find mating flights. I make notes of things and such. Here's another shot of the habitat that I was in. This is kind of like an underbrush, kind of canopy of trees growing over the pathway. This is manzanita, spruce, and a few pine trees mixed in, and it's kind of rocky. And the path itself was sandy, so I try to make notes of that sort of thing. And sooner or later, you kind of get the idea. It's like, oh, well, you tend to find ants in this situation or in this particular habitat in this area, and you kind of make notes of that in your head about where to find these particular species. Here's another common species that I find in this environment. It's Formica mochi. And Formica mochi is one of those species that it's kind of the ant that you always see. You're kind of tired of seeing it. It's always foraging in the pathways. It's they're always doing social carrying, which is an act that ants do to when they want to look when they have a new nest location. They recruit nestmates by actually physically dragging them to the location and putting them in it. And then that ant goes back and carries another ant back with her, and vice versa, and just keeps multiplying until they're all moved in. And they just have this line across the pathway of just social carrying the whole time. So, but yeah, they're always out foraging and very active ant species. They're always up early, and you always see them. I've heard that Polyergus actually makes slaves of these in the valley, in which I haven't seen Polyergus in the valley ever, but I heard it's kind of a rare occurrence. Keep my eye out for that. And just like I said, I mean, it's just another environmental niche that I kind of keep in mind when I'm out in that particular environment that I expect to see these particular species. And that's what I'm really trying to get at. So when you guys are out and about, you make notes and you can discern for yourself. Well, I'm going to tend to find these species here. These are common. These are species I'm going to find in this area. But then I want you to look even further into detail. Look into little. I mean, these are little ants. These are Dory Miramax, and they're maybe not as noticeable at first, but when you look closer, you might see them. And they like little sandy open areas and stuff like that. And they can actually get quite aggressive when they get mature. But just another detail that you might be overlooking. Like you might go somewhere and think, well, I've never found ants there before. But just really go out, take a look around you, take your time. Look in, like I said, look up in trees, look on the bark of trees, look under the bark of trees, look under everything, and hopefully, hopefully have some luck finding some ants. And this is just my conclusion for Environmental Niches, Foothills, California. Thank you.